Okay, now that we've learned about for loops, let's go back to our Mary Had a Little Lamb sketch. Remember how we wrote down the index for each note in the song? Well, I have taken all of those indexes and put them into this array which I've called notes. So this array called notes has the index of every note in the song Mary Had a Little Lamb from the first one to the last one. I've also created a variable called number of notes, which is equal to 25, and that's the number of notes in the whole array. You should add this array and this variable to your sketch. The code for the array and the variable are below this video. You can copy and paste them right into your sketch. So the general idea is to go through the notes array from beginning to end and get Arduino to play each note in order. We can get Arduino to play a note from the notes array using this line of code. Let's break it down into small pieces to see how it works. Notes at index 0 is the first entry in the notes array, which is 2. So our code really tells the buzzer to turn on and use the frequency that's stored at index 2 in the C major scale. If we use the same code but use notes at index 1, Arduino will check the notes array and find that the value at index 1 is equal to 1. So this code also tells the buzzer to turn on, but uses the next note that is stored in the notes array. We could repeat this line of code once for each note in the song, but that would be a lot of work. We'd end up with tons of code, and it would be hard to read. That means it would be easy to make mistakes and hard to debug the code. It would be way easier to use a variable, like I, to set the index. Then we could use a for loop to repeat this line of code. Every time it loops, we can increase the index and gradually play the whole song, one note at a time. Create a for loop in your sketch like this. Make sure that you put it inside the setup function so that it only runs once when the Arduino turns on or resets. We want our counter to start equal to 0. That way we can use I as the index for our notes array and we'll start on the first note of the song. Next, we need our condition. We want Arduino to keep looping until it has gone through all the notes in the song. So we can set the condition to I is less than our variable number of notes. I'm just going to double check that I've spelled that correctly. Every time the loop runs, we want to increase I by 1. That way, Arduino will move on to the next note each time the code inside the loop runs. So I'll put I++ here. We should use the same code we just wrote to play a note using the notes array and the C major array. One more thing before we upload this code and see what it does. Remember, after we play a note, we have to add in a delay of 1 beat so that we have some time to hear the note being played before Arduino moves on to the next one. Okay, let's upload this code and hear what it sounds like. This is pretty good, but when the same note is played twice in a row, the two notes are blending together. I think we can fix this by adding buzzer turn off at the end of our for loop. That way, the buzzer will turn off for a short amount of time at the end of each note. Uploading again. Yep, that fixed it. It's getting better, but it still doesn't sound quite like Mary Had a Little Lamb to me. Okay, on to the next video to understand this next bug and fix it through a coding challenge.